Hey folks, what a barn burner that was. 2 great periods of hockey. The Leafs pushed through, and you know what? We're going to break it all down for you right here on the OZone.
You're in the offensive zone, your place for Leafs hockey.
Hey folks, welcome to the OZone. That's Coach. That's Katie, and I'm the Devo, and we're here to talk all things Leafs. Well, good things happen when Curtis from Alberta is in town. He is a Twitter monster and Leaf fan extraordinaire. Here's a few pics and fun things. Follow him on Twitter, folks. Get psyched up for the next game with him, because it is fun. Big game from the second line. Matthews started throwing his weight around in the second period, started to impose his will on the game. Big win, KD. What'd you see?
Well, we saw a team looking a little nervous and stifled early. Actually, I think when you see this team, it's a team that's thinking too hard. And I like Kevin Costner and Bull Durham think it only hurts the ball club. I think when they just released and let themselves go and let themselves play and maybe even have fun a little, they just look like a much better team. And we've seen that in the series. We've seen them tight and almost thinking through it too much, and then we see them when they're just letting their feet go and they're reacting and they're adapting and they're just really taking the play on. So I love the second half of the game. Actually, I love the game. I mean, as close as the series is, it was really the other maybe game 3. It was really the only game that was close, and it was really close, and it was end-to-end action, and it was really exciting hockey game, which is great to finally win one of those. We seem to be on the wrong end of several of those over the last few years, so it's nice to see it. And I just like the way they were flowing, like especially by the end of it. Let them go, let the horses out, and let them go and see what they get.
Coach, what do you think happened?
We can't let them off the hook for that first period. I talk a lot about angst on here. It was anger after that first period. It was as bad as any of the ones the game before in Tampa. And, it was starting with a soft goal. Fortunately, though, Campbell did keep them in it and kept it at 2-0, to end that first. And then, as we all heard afterwards, Jason Spezza woke everyone up in between the first and second. Thank goodness for that guy. Thank goodness he's a Leaf. Because you look at what happened. Matthews had 0 hits and 0 shot attempts in the first period. He had 9 shot attempts in the second, and he ended up with 4 shots, a goal, and 7 hits. So he figured out, all right, if I'm not scoring right away, can I get physical? He did. Tavares started rolling. Riley jumped up, scored a goal. So everybody was going. Campbell was really flawless for the rest of it, except when Marner turned one over in the third and McDonough stepped up and hit driver from the ladies' tee and blew one over his shoulder. How's he going to stop that? Anyway, look, the biggest wake-up call was Nylander's. And if you watch the last pod, he was mostly dead to me, okay? Yeah. But, man, something happened in the second period. You saw him take it to the net with reckless abandon. Unbelievable. It was like watching... Hey, have you guys seen The Matrix? And they're waiting for him the whole movie. Is he the one? And then he figures it out. And they're shooting bullets at him, and he goes, stop. And they all stop. And then he does this. He picks a bullet out of the air. He looks at it. He's like, oh, okay, I got this thing figured out. I really hope that that's what happened with Nylander, because he played a terrific 2 periods beyond that. And I hope he's figured out that's how he has to play it all the time. It's like when you're a parent or a coach or a manager of somebody at work and you see them not doing their best and you're disappointed for them. You know they could do better. But you can't get them to be better. They have to want to do it themselves. And he did. So I'm glad he's not dead to me anymore. Still has something to prove, as does Keith and Dubas, but that was a good start.
Coach used to have some issues with Bieksa for using some of his material. I'm actually kind of happy to have Bieksa steal my bit. Pretty much after Friedman last night on the broadcast started yipping about Hall's play, Bieksa kind of stepped in and told him exactly what's what. You know, anybody knows anything about hockey, basically. Hull is steady, people. He moves guys out of the net. He does his job. You need that in the postseason. Not everyone can be a puck mover, and quite clearly, not everyone on the Leafs is a puck mover. This is the other thing. In terms of a steady right shot D that can move the puck a little bit, he's the only one we actually have in the lineup. As far as I'm concerned, by all accounts, Spezza, who played 5 minutes and 50 seconds of this game, was the unsung hero. Late in the first period, during a TV timeout, he took Campbell aside. Here we go here. And gave him a talking to, really rallied him. Campbell was, as coach said, nearly flawless for the rest of the game. And apparently he took over the dressing room between the first and second period as well. And it worked because it was Jekyll and Hyde. Whatever came out in the second period did not look like the same team that was out in the first. It's a difference maker. Nice to see Tavares get rewarded on the score sheet for his efforts to date. And it's clear that Nylander watches the pod. Willie took heed of coach's sharp assessment of his play. And we'll leave it at that. But he was much better. Sometimes with these guys, it's all skill and no will, and that doesn't work. So you gotta. Hopefully, Willie brings the will. Coach, the Leafs have Tampa on the ropes. They go back south to FLA. This is not going to be an easy out. What needs to happen for the Buds to close out this series?
Yeah, you just mentioned Hall's the steadiest right shooting D. If steady means consistent, it might be Lyubushkin because every single time he has the puck, he's consistent with it. He treats it like it was made in Chernobyl. So, anyway, good for Hall. He played okay. So, look, here's what you're not going to hear from me in this segment. You could hear this anywhere else. That's not why you come here. Things like we got to start on time. We got to play a full 60. Stay out of the box. Get pucks deep. Get pucks to the net. Get some traffic. Come on. They're all cliches. Every one of those points is something that every team wants to do every time. It says Kucherov would say number one bullshit if I was to come on and say that. So I'll give you some original thoughts, okay? As great as we were in Game 5, we don't have the last change in Game 6. I would get Marner away from Cirelli by moving him to a different line. I'd swap Blackwell out for Clifford. Clifford's done his time. Blackwell, he's been okay, but let's get a little more physicality in there. Here's what our sweet graphics department put together for lines. I got Bunting with Matthews and Nylander up on that line. Marner down with Tavares and Kerfoot. The third line is as it's been, and as it's been good the whole time, Clifford, Spezza, and Kashe. So that's what I do for forwards if we're talking about adjustments. I keep Giordano on the first power play. I would keep Matthews on the right side. Kev, I know you're going to talk about that. And I'd keep rolling the dice with Hall and Lyubushkin. I keep the pairs as is. Those guys are going to make mistakes. But they do some things well here as well. They do some things really well. But here's what I wouldn't do. Justin Hall is out there with 90 seconds left in 6-on-5. He's the sixth defenseman. He cannot be out there. If they had scored to tie it up with Hall on the ice, Key should be immediately fired. Hand the clipboard to Manny Malhotra and leave. So you got to play your best 4D in that period, right? You can't tell me Giordano can't stand on the other side of the ice for a shift versus having Hall out there. So that can't happen. Other than that, those are the adjustments I'd make.
Yeah, no, I hope Kev goes on the rant that he should about Matthews playing on the right side on the power play. He's done it basically once this whole postseason and had a great shot at a yawning net. So, Katie, can the Leafs close this out, and how are they going to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they can close it out. Obviously, we lots of yelling and wailing and gnashing of teeth, and while we watched the power play suffer, doing the same, and then finally, miraculously, when they were backs up against the wall, they changed it, gave a different look, had lots of chances, and then end up scoring a little bit later with Nylander on that side. The really great or lucky part that the Leafs have is they have so many parts that can mesh into different situations on that power play. The ultimate goal on the power play is to get shots on net. And if you're only going to fart around and maybe get a shot on it, and it needs to be a perfect shot to score, it's no good. So I love switching the wingers. It's the easiest way to get quality shots on net. But I have no problems just starting rotate guys as they play and have all of a sudden Nylander's on this side, then he's on the other side, and then Matthews is up high, then Matthews down low. Let's make it crazy for them to have to make a decision. And that's what on the power play you try to do. Force the 4 players to make a hard decision. And once you've done that, the other person can shoot. So the goal needs to be 3 to 4 shots of power play. And they did it at the end, and they finally got rewarded on it. I pray they're smart enough to keep kind of going that way and to show and flip the wingers and then switch them back and like just make the 4 out there on for Tampa Bay really decide on who's your poison. Pick your poison to lose, and that's what you want to do on the power play. And let's hope it happens. And I would like to see Clifford back too. For sure. Like I either that or Simmons, one or the other. I think Blackwell needs a rest. He's really not making that much of a dent. He doesn't really play that much. So I don't mind resting him a bit. I do like coach's lineup. I'm almost tempted to move Nylander onto that line with Marner and Tavares and make it sort of a really make them decide who they want to put Cirelli against. Almost make it an all-star line on line 2, and then put Matthews with whoever he wants to up top. But you know, I do like they got to split Marner and Matthews up.
As we say in Texas, I ain't mad at it.
And off wings on the power play, people. I mean, come on, Leafs, let's just do this. Matthews is a generational shot, generational goal scorer. You know who else is? Ovechkin. There's a guy who wears 91 on the other team who does something very similar, scores a lot of goals from that spot, off wing. It's not rocket surgery. We're gonna do what we always do here, folks. The way we've always done it. The way we're always going to do it. And we're going to make predictions right now. We're going to lay it all on the line. Now, folks, we are going back to Tampa on the road. The 2-time Stanley Cup champs, a wounded animal. KD, what's going to happen?
Well, I think Tampa's going to get their goals. Toronto, though, is going to get the power play going. And I'm no rocket surgeon, but I'm calling for a 6-3 Leafs win.
All right, Coach.
Kev, that's all water under the fridge anyway, so don't worry about it. Look, guys, the Game 7 angst would be absolutely unbearable. We can't do a Game 7. I haven't picked against the Leafs all year. I'm not going to do that here, but I do think this will be the tightest game of the series. And as long as we get out of the first even or even down 1, we're going to start to grind them down. I'm calling a 4-2 win with an empty netter. And I'm going to say 2 other predictions. Joe Bowen's call of us getting out of the first round will be everyone's ringtone. I don't know if you heard him call the Matthews goal. Unbelievable, right?
It was fantastic.
Yeah. And then I think Vasilevsky, who will have been outplayed by Campbell, says something like this in his post-game media conference. He beat me straight up. Pay him. Pay that man his money. Just like Teddy KGB.
All right. I think the Leafs stop hiding that first line, maybe split it up a little bit. I think they win 4-2, and I think we put an end to this thing. Look, there you have it, folks. Enjoy the weather. Stay hydrated. Get out there. Be safe. Breathe. And remember, we got your back right here on the OZone.